I, I, I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid, fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid, fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid, fruity pebble chain.
And welcome once again to another episode of the HoriZone Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald. Jim Cerro, I thought he was in sunny Palm Springs, but I have evidence that he is the otherwise, will not be joining me. You can find him on Twitter, of course, at Jim Cerro. You can find us on the web at HoriZoneRoundtable.com. You can find links to where our social accounts are and where you can find us where podcasts are available at HoriZoneRoundtable.com/subscribe. If you happen to be watching us live right now or on YouTube, at a certain point in time, there's a nice QR code you can click on. You can actually use to get to that subscribe page, because you can also subscribe to our email alerts. So you can certainly do all of that. And you can also become a patron. Patreon.com/HoriZone Roundtable. Early access to the power rankings, the men's of which I will be taking back over from Griffin Beers, and of course Kyle's as well, and some other things that were only exclusively available to you on Patreon. And of course, you can always donate to us at HoriZoneRoundtable.com/donate. So, have you all missed me? The answer should be no. It's not like I went anywhere. You literally could have heard me any time in the last month and a half on the preview podcast, which, incidentally, programming note, I will also be flying solo on this episode, for I do, again, since Jim is allegedly in sunny Palm Springs at the moment. But I will definitely be doing that will still be coming out. Obviously, sponsored by the HoriZone League. By the way, you guys should know that tickets are available to the HoriZone League tournament in Indy by now. I'll remind you, you're good. So now I was gonna talk about the week that was, and I will still do that, by the way. But of course, this is the HoriZone League, and of course, things have to happen right before I come back. So, I guess the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that we have a new commissioner. At least as of April 15th, we'll have a new commissioner. Allegedly, yeah. So that's still happening, of course. To the surprise of anyone, a lot of people apparently, came kind of out of left field. Jill Bodensteiner, who was the athletic director at St. Joseph's in Philadelphia. She's going to be our new athletic director. And apparently St. Joseph fans aren't too sad to see her go. Apparently that has to stem from the firing of Phil Martelli. Apparently also replacing him with Billy Lang, who apparently hasn't been doing any better. I guess that is the problem, I suppose. I don't know. I can't really make an assessment of her. Apparently, she is. She is going to keep everything pretty. It looks like things are going to stay pretty Indiana-centric for sure, because she's originally from Valpo, and she spent 20 years of her career at Notre Dame, which is, if my memory serves correct, one of her alma maters. I should have actually pulled up her LinkedIn profile, because I could actually pull up her resume, which incidentally is the only place you can find her on social media, because she's not anywhere else. I think I know why. Hopefully that's something that does change once she gets acclimated into the HoriZone League. I guess I guess there will be questions that, incidentally, I may ask, because obviously the invitation is open for the new commissioner to join us on the HoriZone Roundtable. I suspect that may be something that's in the offing sometime once she officially becomes commissioner on April 15th. Maybe earlier. Who knows? We'll see. But needless to say, I guess there's a couple of things that we had brought up after Julie Orlash resigned. A couple of those things I believe may be resolved by now. The media deal. Obviously, we're with ESPN Plus. That may be already. I don't want to jinx it, but that actually may be something that has already been addressed. That it may be already something that's fixed, and that is something that I'm sure will be officially announced sometime very soon, maybe before the tournament. Who knows? We'll see. Also, the other thing, which is managing conference members, well, as it turns out, attracting new conference members may not necessarily be a problem anymore. It seems to me that the HoriZone League may accidentally back themselves into becoming a Midwest mid-major mega conference. Depending upon where MAC schools end up. Apparently, the MAC decided that taking $18 million worth of Sacramento State's money, the origin of which I have no idea what is, was a good idea. Still on the table, by the way, is Toledo and Ohio U apparently might be in a situation where they're going to be kicking the tires on another conference. Probably not the Mid Mountain West, maybe the Sun Belt. Who knows? I guess we'll see in the future. But one thing that I did read from Matt Brown's Extra Points newsletter. By the way, you should absolutely subscribe to that if you haven't done it already. It's a great read. We've had Matt on the show. We had Matt on the show a few years ago when UIC left. We definitely should think about getting him back on the podcast at a certain point in time. But I guess the scenarios that have been kicked around for some of these schools that are looking to get into a new football conference, it seems to me that the plan is, because the MAC apparently is very rigid about having everybody have all their sports in the MAC. And by all their sports, I mean all the sports that they sponsor, including football, basketball, you name it. Well, as it turns out, as it were, and this is extremely important, the HoriZone League apparently seems to be kind of part of these potentially moving schools' plans. And this may be news to the HoriZone League, this may not be news to the HoriZone League, but I'm not going to say no to Toledo or Ohio U. Are you? No. Absolutely not. The more the merrier. More Ohio schools. I'm all for more Ohio schools. I don't know if you noticed that. So I guess this is obviously a fluid situation. This is something that's going to be ongoing as we move forward. We're probably not going to see anything next year. I mean, we obviously got Northern Illinois coming into the fold. Not a big thing. Well, it actually is a big thing because we'll be at 12. And so that's going to be one of those things that we are kind of going to be keeping our eye on, specifically in the course of the next year. And so that is going to be, that's one aspect of it. And again, as I had laid out before, that may not have who the commissioner is, which of course now it's going to be Jill Boldensteiner. I don't think that's gonna really have any bearing on that. So the other element, of course, is because we are moving, because this is the last year of the deal with Farmers Corteva Coliseum. I'm glad I don't do this during the ad reads during the preview podcast. It's Corteva Coliseum. As we know, that deal expires this year. Then comes the question of what next. Does it stay at Corteva? Does it go to another venue in Indianapolis? Or do they go to the suburbs? There are two places in the suburbs they theoretically could go. There's the the Arena and Innovation Center, or whatever the hell it's called, in Noblesville, Indiana. They're the home of the Noblesville Boom. You may know them previously as the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, but they're the Noblesville Boom now. And that is stuck squarely in the suburbs. If you do a Google map search of this arena now, I don't even think they've updated their satellite imagery. It still looks like farmland. So apparently that could be a possibility. And the stadium in Carmel, where the Indy Fuel have relocated to, that could potentially be a possibility too. Although I gotta point out, if that is indeed the possibility, and I can't see why it would be, wouldn't you run into the same problems that you did at Corteva? Specifically, the fact that the issues with the ice and all that stuff. It seems to me like that's not a great plan, but again, not really kind of our call on this one. I guess we'll find out soon enough. I mean, we can also have a conversation theoretically about, somewhere besides Indianapolis. Remember when the bid for the home for the tournament, and by home I mean the semifinals and the finals, there were other places that came up. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Fort Wayne came up before Purdue Fort Wayne came up. I think Grand Rapids came up. I know I'm pretty sure, I think the only reason I remember Grand Rapids because Matt brought it up a couple of times. So, I guess that still needs to be hashed out. Whether it gets hashed out before or after Jill Bodensteiner takes office, I guess we'll find out soon enough. And yet, we still have other stuff. because the Paul Corsaro saga, the Paul Corsaro, former AIU Indy Players saga, is still going on. And apparently it reached a head because IU responded to the former players' original claim. They denied everything and pretty much threw Paul Corsaro under the bus, which you kind of figured was going to happen, but then they turned around and filed a third-party claim against Paul Corsaro, basically saying, if there's any judgment, this is on you, man. Now, naturally, and I didn't know, I didn't know how service works, given the fact that, as I think we posted a couple of times, that Paul Corsaro is actually an assistant coach in a professional team in Israel right now. I didn't know how that whole thing was going to work, serving him and whatnot. I don't envy the process servers got to put in the frequent flyer miles on that one. Well, turns out that didn't matter because he clearly did get the claim, and he definitely responded. So effectively what he did the same thing. He denied all their claim, that third-party claim, and then he turns around and countersues IU. Clear as mud, isn't it? You think this is bad? You should have seen me trying to pour through these legal documents on a Friday night like some weirdo. Like, good God, there's a reason I didn't go to law school. This was it. So, to recap, 6 former IU Indy players are suing IU Indy and the IU Board of Trustees. The IU Board of Trustees is now denying that claim and suing Paul Corsaro as a third-party claim. Paul Corsaro is now countersued, which is interesting because when he filed his tort claim in, it's not even interesting. It's like, geez Louise, what are you doing here? You had so many things going on. It's kind of a mess. It's gonna still be a mess constantly. It's gonna be a mess. Fortunately, it's not. It's good. Fortunately, it's going to not be our mess, but we'll do our level best to try to figure out what's going on. If any of these things ends up going to trial, don't expect gavel to gavel coverage from us. Okay, I'm not going down to Indy for this. I'm sorry. As fascinating as some of you may find this, I'm not going to Indy for this at all. You're lucky I go to Indy once a year. Okay. All right. So now that now that I've spent 15 minutes on that, I get to talk about the rest of the week, which includes Wright State. So Wright State fumbled a little bit. They lost to Detroit Mercy, and yet they lost to Detroit Mercy, and then they're somehow 2 games up on everybody else. Well, there's a reason for that, because Wright State only lost once. Oakland did not do well this week at all. So Wright State effectively got their revenge on Cleveland State, beat them up pretty good. Again, with the Cleveland State game, the game is always not as close as the final score indicates, and this was the case again. When Cleveland State is not doing well on any part of the thing, it shows. Defense was not. They just could not. Their defense was, for lack of a better word, atrocious. Wright State couldn't miss anything. They couldn't miss anything They couldn't miss anything on the road, and they won pretty handily. They won by 12. And I think the only reason that Cleveland State didn't lose by 20 is because they actually weren't shooting so bad themselves. But Wright State beats Cleveland State to hold serve. Now, Oakland, again, they had an opportunity to get a game up on Wright State because Wright State lost to Detroit Mercy. Well, things did not go well for them on Thursday night because they lost to Youngstown State at the arena. And to add insult to injury, major insult to injury, they go to Robert Morris, and Robert Morris just dismantled them. Oakland lost by, Robert Morris beat them by 24. 24. It wasn't even particularly close in the second half. I thought they might get back in the game, but any Oakland fan was probably hoping too much right there, because Robert Morris was outstanding. Outstanding to the extent that they shot 57% from the field, and they were 22 of 33. 22 of 33. They shot 67%. In the second half. They just basically ran away from them. And not helping Oakland's cause is shooting 22% in the second half from beyond the arc. It was not a good week for Oakland. This is a perfect opportunity for Oakland to get even, because they were before the week started, they were a game back. They were a game back from in the win-loss column from Wright State. However, it's more like 2 because Wright State has the tiebreaker on them, because Wright State swept them in the regular season. However, now they're down 2, and it's almost like 3. So, honestly, if Wright State sweeps the week, if Wright State wins their next 2 games, there is if you go, actually playoffstatus.com has the current standings. Not current standings, but if you're, depending upon when you're listening to these, it'll be current standings. Wright State, as of right now, has a 90% chance of getting the top seed in the HoriZone League tournament. And they also control their own destiny at this point in time. So And this is kind of how everything shakes out for them. So if they, let's be honest, if they win, if they beat IU Indy, if they beat Robert Morris next week, you can basically you're effectively looking at Wright State as the regular season champions. Period. Naturally, this makes me feel dumb. I don't think I've made it. I don't really think I've made it a secret that. I don't think I've really actually made it a secret of how wrong I'm as wrong about this team as I was as wrong about Milwaukee. Just totally whiffed it. Completely whiffed it. And it's easy to see why. It is incredibly easy to see why, because you have these two teams. You have this Wright State team that is absolutely has really kind of embraced that youth movement of theirs, and it's true, because just take this Cleveland State win for example. You really don't. You really. Aside from Michael Amaribe, most of the guys here, most of these teams here, most of the guys here are. Most of these guys are absolutely, players that may have maybe 1 or 2 years under their belt, and you know something, you're looking at, especially again. You get guys like we've talked about Kellen Pickett before. I'm sure, I was paying attention in my absence to the podcast. And by the way, before I forget, shout out to Greg Kula and Giovanni Mocheri for filling in for me. You guys did an outstanding job. Love to hear from you guys. It was like I was outside of my own body when I was hearing all of this. But as I mentioned, as far as this is a team that definitely has youth on its side, because you're looking at, especially in this last game against Cleveland State, if you look at it, because you have Michael Amaribe. He's kind of the one senior guy with Sam Alamudu. Both of those guys are kind of the more. They're both this is their last year, both of them. But then you look at kind of the experience drop. You've got all freshmen and sophomores, and it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how old these guys are. These guys are doing whatever they want, especially in the wins, and that was especially true in the win against Cleveland State, because you had TJ Birch, who just could not miss. I'm serious. He literally, if I'm not mistaken, okay, he did miss. I'm sorry. It looked like he didn't miss, but it looked like he couldn't miss, but he apparently did miss two shots. He didn't miss anything else. Alex Bruscotter, the redshirt freshman, we've seen him come in from time to time, but he hasn't played a lot. But today, he scored 25 points out of nowhere. And this is kind of the... And again, this isn't a game where Kellen Pickett, he wasn't really that dominant he wasn't really dominant as far as the as offense is concerned, but defensively, he had 4 blocks. And I think I've mentioned this before, that in the face of so many outstanding freshmen, we'll talk about some of the other ones here later, I feel like Kellen Pickett kind of has the inside track for Freshman of the Year. And again, that's going to be pretty well defended as far as that is concerned. But again, it's not just him. It is outside of Michael Amaribe. Outside of Michael Amaribe is a mix of, by and large, freshmen and sophomores. mean, Sam Alamudu only played 10 minutes today, so it was almost entirely outside of Omari Bay. Outside of him, it was freshmen and sophomores. And they dominated shooting. They dominated on the glass. This is Cleveland State now, but this is also the same team that went to the Nutter Center and beat them pretty handily too. So you can't really take that with a grain of salt, and you also gotta, and also you can see kind of the evidence of the fact that this is a team that can bounce back from these pretty head-scratching losses. This is kind of the third time now. Because you remember, after the Cleveland State game, they turned around and beat Northern Kentucky. So it stood to this is not going to be a team. This has not been a team in conference that has lost. Is going to lose two games in a row. This is definitely a far cry from where we were at. Like, I don't know. Where again it was. I guess the this is one of those things where you're thinking to yourself, well, youth movement, who knew? And it's funny because the youth movement that that I was openly wondering about with this team, with Wright State, is the same one that I didn't question with the team that beat them on Thursday, Detroit Mercy. Now, mind you, of course, with Detroit Mercy, they have a little bit more. They have had a little bit more of an edge, in that they, in addition to the freshmen and sophomores that they've been playing, they also benefit from the fact that they've got Orlando Lovejoy and Legend Jeter, who again have been stepping up big time to definitely make things to definitely get things going. But when you look at Detroit Mercy, who also had an outstanding week because they beat Wright State on the road, they beat Youngstown State. It stands to reason that this is definitely the team I expected, if not anybody else. But I certainly expected this team to do exactly what they're doing right now. And I guess one of the things that I missed there is the emergence of Tyler Spratt. And it's just one of those what ifs. What if Daniel Robinson hadn't gotten the job at North Texas? I would be enjoying Tyler Spratt at Cleveland State right now. But that was not to be. So, but you know what he is doing? Yeah, that was not meant to be. But you know what? He's doing an outstanding job he is certainly doing an outstanding job in his position at Detroit Mercy right now. One of the things that I look at him with Tyler Spratt is that Tyler Spratt's the guy who hit what ended up being the game-winning shot against Wright State. So definitely a lot of poise for a freshman, redshirt freshman and a freshman nonetheless. And if there's anybody who could make an argument to win Freshman of the Year over Kellen Pickett right now, it's Tyler Spratt, and proof positive. Against Youngstown State today, he got 15 points, which is pretty good, but he also got 9 rebounds too. And that was huge in this particular case, especially against a Youngstown State team that definitely was able to work rebounding to its advantage in the win over Oakland at the arena. But it was just something. But the other part of it too is the fact that when it comes to shooting the threes, Tyler Spratt has kind of become the Detroit Mercy's guy, and I think keeping Youngstown State off of the 3-point line, keeping them at bay beyond the arc was highly effective as well, because they were Youngstown State was 5 of 22, and again, this is the same team that had no problem shooting threes against Oakland. Cam Pollock just shot the lights out at the arena, and again, I think it's with Youngstown State. Again, I feel like there's a lot of I don't want to say there's a lot of luck involved, but if when you see them beat Oakland, you see what happens when everything goes right for them. When you see a loss against Detroit Mercy, then you see where everything can go wrong. So going to talking about Robert Morris again. Again, Robert Morris had a good week too. They beat up on Cleveland State at the Wolstein Center. I gotta say, the way things are going with Cleveland State at the Wolstein Center, maybe they should go back to Woodling Gym. They seem to do a little better there now. But that's another conversation for another day. But Robert Morris, on the other hand, against Oakland, they just basically ran the ball. They proved that was their house. Nikos Hidakudis, and I apologize, I've been saying this, I've been pronouncing the C in his name this entire season. I should really stop doing that. But he had absolutely no problem with Oakland's front court. I mean, he had 20 points, he had 13 rebounds. Him and Deshaun Good ate in the paint. They ate. Because Hidakudis had 20 and 13. Deshaun Good had 18 and 12. And you're not going to beat that. And they ate against Cleveland State, too. They just did. It was, add in a little mix of Ryan Prather in that game. This is the team. This is really this is really the Robert Morris team I expected throughout the season. But this is a tough conference sometimes. And you go into the peaks and valleys. And, Robert Morris has definitely experienced that. Green Bay has absolutely experienced that because they had the peaks this week of beating Purdue Fort Wayne to get within a game and a half of first place. And then the valley, of which they lose at the last second to Milwaukee. I keep saying throw the records out. Milwaukee, who has been, again, bitten by, talk about a snake bit team, got bit by the injury bug hard. But again, when you look at that team and you see, who has stepped up and has emerged, and, thanks to this win against Green Bay, they've emerged out of 10th place finally. So that Cleveland State, Youngstown State game this week, which we'll talk about in the preview podcast again, that's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one because I suspect the loser of that game is probably going to end up having that first round game, which is problematic for everybody involved. Well, except for me. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter to me, but needless to say, it's the way things have gone. Again, things have Milwaukee is 7-10, and again they were able to eke out a win against IU Indy in kind of a schedule shuffling game, which unfortunately this week did not benefit IU Indy at all because they had 3 games this week and they lost all 3 of them. And you could tell in that last game against Purdue Fort Wayne, they just totally ran out of gas because they lost by 15. When you're looking at Milwaukee, and they're 7-10 in the conference, it's not, again, it's been a pretty, with the injuries and everything, they've had to make a ton of adjustments, and the fact that they're still only 7-10, and theoretically might come out of the regular season not having to play the 10-11 game. There's very little chance they're going to get a home game. I mean, we're kind of at the point where Cleveland State, Youngstown State, and Milwaukee all have like a less than 1% chance of getting a home tournament game. So I think all of them, I'm sure, have pretty much resided themselves in the fact that they will be. They'll all pretty much reside themselves to ending up on the road for the tournament. And I'm sure on the road will be probably an improvement over having to play a 10-11 game. which they may still end up having to do. Entirely possible. Northern Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, they had, Northern Kentucky had their own problems with the IUND because they had to eke out a win. It's funny because you had Milwaukee who eked out a win against Northern Kentucky, against IUND, and then Northern Kentucky who eked out a win against IUND. You can tell IUND has the ability to beat people. We've seen it before. But most of the time it's just not enough for them, and so that's going to be problematic for them. It's not their fault. It's just this is a team that's probably another recruiting cycle away from getting Ben Howlett's system acclimated to them. We thought for sure that maybe the system itself would be a thing that would be helpful, but as it turns out, I feel like they're going to need some upgrades in the coming off season. Nothing against the system itself. Again, we've seen that they have the ability to do that. They have the ability to beat people. It's just not very consistent, and it's always dependent upon how things go. And this week, it did not go well at all, because they were in both games. They were in the Milwaukee game. They were in the Northern Kentucky game, and neither game went well for them. They were the Purdue-Fort Wayne game was just a disaster for them because I think they were up by 9 or 10, and then Purdue-Fort Wayne found another gear, and they just did not step off the gas. They did not step off the gas, although I should point out IUND did make a game of it. They came very close. So, did I say 15? No, they only lost by 5. So it wasn't like it's not like IUND doesn't have the ability to do these things. It's just they're running up against teams that are able to to finish them off, and that's kind of been the story for IUND for most of the year. There's not a lot they can do about that one, and I guess they can I guess their hope is they will do something in the postseason. Maybe they can surprise some people in the postseason. You never know. But now they've lost 20 games again. Hopefully we can finally break ourselves of the habit of IUND losing 20 games a year. But clearly we're not there yet. We're clearly not there yet. And I don't know if we'll ever get there. Because IUND's got Wright State, Oakland, and Purdue-Fort Wayne one more time. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like things are going to go too much better for you. All right. Let's see here. Sorry, I don't know, Oakland fans. Do you want me to talk about your week? Because I don't think you'll want me to. Because it was not a good one for you guys. I think you guys want to forget I think you guys want to certainly forget the Robert Morris game for sure. I'm almost certain you want to forget the Youngstown State game, because that game did not end well for you, even though you guys got yourselves back into the game. So, better luck next time. Hopefully you can find an answer. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully you can figure out what's going. Hopefully you can get everything together before Green Bay on Monday. Green Bay on Thursday. Was it Friday? Looks like Friday. Sorry, it's Friday. My bad. Well, that's okay. I'll talk. Like I said, I will talk all about that game. And on next episode of the Expand Your Horizon Preview Edition, which of course is sponsored by the Horizon League. And now that they have a new commissioner, I sincerely hope, please, if somebody over there is still listening, please put a good word in for for us with the new commissioner, so that we may have a third season of Expand Your Horizon Preview Edition. We would really enjoy that, and we would really like to be. We do like doing that. In fact, for some reason, the Expand Your Horizon Preview Edition this year has actually been a little more has actually been a lot more listened to than the first season, and seems like we've spent a lot more time on each episode. Maybe it's because I wasn't around for a month and a half and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to blather on during these. But thank you for listening to that naturally. Thank you certainly for listening to this podcast. And certainly thank you for listening to this podcast in my absence. I don't know. Maybe I should have not left. Again, technically I didn't leave. I just decided not to do this, or believe me, I do a bunch of, as most of you know, I do a lot of the behind the scenes things with the HoriZone Roundtable, and that didn't really change. I will say this: I am super happy that we have the editorial staff that we have. Sarah Urban, who is our copy editor, does a great job. Kyle Rossi, who is our women's editor, he's obviously done great, and John Ostapowitz, who is now our men's editor, he's done an outstanding job as well. And I would be remiss if I did not shout out Eric Fisher, who's been working on getting us some sponsors. I wasn't gonna do this. I was thinking of it, but I wasn't gonna do this, and I was thinking maybe I should have done this earlier. But I want to give a special shout out to our new sponsor. They're sponsoring the women's power rankings and Kyle's Cleveland State stories. Greenie Sports Cards, greeniesportscards.com. If any of you have seen their name at any point in time, they've actually been doing baseball cards. So they've been kind of in the for basketball players. Most famously, they were the ones who created a card for Destiny Leo right at the outset of the NIL era. And it's kind of grown for them. I think they've done cards for nearly all of the Cleveland State women's team. They've expanded to other places. I know they do some of the MAC schools. I think I saw recently that they did a collection of the Kent State men's basketball team. But if you're listening to this, and you know a player who is interested in getting into this space, having a nice collectible thing that you can make some money on through NIL, contact the Greenies at greeniesportscards.com and go to their Contact Us page. I'm sure they will absolutely appreciate that I threw out this shout out right now. I'm sure they won't appreciate the fact I did it like 40 minutes into this show. I'm sorry, guys. I promise I'll do better next time. I promise I will do better next time. So, I think that's gonna wrap it up for me today. I think I am going to get out of here because why not? Thank you to everybody who joined us on the YouTube Live. And if you didn't, that's okay. Hopefully you are watching this on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HoriZone Roundtable. You can find a link to that on our subscribe page, horizoneroundtable.com/subscribe. If you're listening to this on your podcast apps, that's cool too. No big deal. Hey, however you listen to us, it doesn't matter. I'm good with it. I'm glad you guys I'm glad you guys have been around the entire time. We'd love to have more of you. We're in the 3 weeks where we're in a 3-week window where there's no football anymore, college or pro. Looking at you, Cleveland.com. Looking at you, WKYC, who can't figure out who's shooting threes, who's scoring during games. Maybe go to a game once in a while. That wouldn't kill you, you know. You didn't think I was gonna leave this without somebody catching a stray, did you? Come on. Come on. Anyway, HoriZoneRoundtable.com. That is where all of our articles and all of our past episodes are. You can catch us on, you can pull up this podcast wherever podcasts are available. And of course, all of these podcasts and the preview pod can be found on wherever podcasts are available and on YouTube through our YouTube channel. And you can always pull us up on your Amazon or Google devices. So tune in next week. I'm going to be here. Jim should be here. Until then, thank you all for listening.